beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. You guys remember that movie Troy with Brad Pitt? That was I love that movie.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
And that was what the love song with as far as Achilles and his love. Good morning, Unity Temple of Denver. My name is Stephen. I am so happy to be with you this morning. I'm so happy to be bringing our second installment in a Reflections in Truth series based on Emilie Cady's Lessons in Truth. Today's message is Reconstruction, Rebuilding Jerusalem. So if you remember, last week, one of the first primary stories in biblical history for the Israelites was the story of their exodus up out of Egypt. Now, metaphysically, as we discussed in my last talk, metaphysically that represents our moving out from the basement consciousness, Egypt consciousness, world consciousness, that prevents us from reaching the fullness of our divine expression. So, if you recall, one of the four major topics that we discussed were, number one, making a decision to be free or remain a slave to our limited beliefs. Number two, taking time for daily meditation. Number three, cultivating within us that which we desire to see in the world around us. And number four, replacing our never-ending external search for trust in spirit within. This talk is based on another major period in biblical history for the Israelites, which basically this talk is referring to the Reconstruction era of the Israelites. After they were in exile, after being conquered by Babylon, the Israelites were in exile for 70 years. King Cyrus of Persia then with his armies conquered Babylon and then issued a royal decree to the Israelites to then return home to Jerusalem to rebuild their city and their once great temple. Now, the walls of this once great city were basically virtually destroyed. The temple was gone. The Ark of the Covenant had been taken by the Babylons. The Israelites had lost their sense of identity. Everything that they had that rooted them in their sense of identity to being with one God and being the chosen people was gone. And so in consciousness, we too have been issued a royal decree, a royal divine decree by Spirit to return home to our Jerusalem, to tear down the nearly destroyed walls and rebuild them brick by brick with truth. So how do we do that? How do we see more of God being good all the time? How do we create a perceptual understanding in our everyday situations, circumstances, and experiences that God is good all the time? Well, the answer to that question, to that million-dollar question, is through denials and affirmations. And that's what this talk is going to be about denials and affirmations. But before I go into that, and before I go into any quotes with Emilie and Cady, I have a joke. All right, y'all ready? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I know a guy who takes denial to the next level. He doesn't believe in stairs. Okay, maybe that wasn't so funny. Yeah, that wasn't so funny. I'm sorry. But reading Emilie Cady on denials and affirmations, it reads, denials have an erasing or dissolving tendency. Affirmations build up and give strength and courage and power. Persons who remember vividly and are inclined to dwell in the thoughts on the pains, sorrows, and troubles of the past or present need to deny a great deal, for denials cleanse the mind and blot out the memory of all seeming evil and unhappiness, so that they become faraway dreams. Again, denials are particularly useful to those who are hard and intolerant or aggressively sinful, to those who are as a result of success have become overconfident, thinking the human is sufficient in itself in all things, to the selfish, and to any who do not scruple to harm others. Affirmations should be used by the timid and by those who have a feeling of their own inefficiency, those who stand in fear of other minds, those who give in easily, those who are subject to anxiety or doubt, and those who are in positions of responsibility. Persons who are in any way negative or passive need to use affirmations more. The ones who are self-confident or unforgiving need to deny more. So, denials and affirmations have more than just the ability to change our perceptions, and they also have the ability to literally heal. So it is so fitting that today's daily word was for healing. I did not plan that. I did not plan that. I did not plan that. So, but when Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, healed herself of tuberculosis, the denial that she used was, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. That is what she used. That is how she healed herself. So, I too had an experience of healing through using denials and affirmations and meditations, and I'm going to share that with you. It was back in 2016, and I don't know where it came from, but I began to, when I woke up in the morning, my head was just filled with congestion, and it had, and I don't mean to gross you out, had a dark mucus that came that when I would blow my nose. And it was really, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening to me. It just kind of came out of the blue. Now, I'm not a person who likes to go to the doctors very much. I'll go every once in a while if I just can't take anything else. I just can't take it anymore, then I'll go to the doctor. Other than that, I try to stay away from the doctor. So, but I also had, ever since I was younger, a back ailment. So my back would also, trouble me from time to time, would flare up and give me problems. I then found A Course in Miracles, and I actually came here to Denver on a spiritual journey. And when I came on that spiritual journey, that was the first time I began to meditate, and that was the first time I began to actively use denials and affirmations. That was when I first started using it. And so I began to tell myself, after I meditated, I began to first use forgiveness statements. I forgive, release, surrender, and let go of any thoughts, beliefs, or investments in sickness or disease of any kind. And then I used the power of renunciation and elimination, which is part of the 12 powers, where I said I renounce and eliminate from my consciousness any thoughts, beliefs, or investments in sickness or disease of any kind. Then I began to use denial statements right after that. I deny the power of any thoughts, beliefs, or investments in sickness, disease, or ailments of any kind having any hold, control, sway, or influence in my life whatsoever. And then I use my affirmations. For I affirm, I am God. And I affirm the truth. And the truth is my nature is wholeness. That is the truth. And my wholeness expresses as alignment of my mind with spirit and healing of this mind and this body. I don't know when it went away. All I know is that it suddenly dawned on me, maybe several weeks, maybe a month, that it was gone. It was gone. But the backache remained. I still had the backache, but I did not have the congestion. I didn't suffer from that anymore. I had suffered that for 2 years. So at that point, I said, well, you know something? If it works for this, maybe it'll work for the backache too. So then I added ailments to it. I forgive, release, surrender, and let go of any thoughts, beliefs, or investments in sickness, disease, or ailments of any kind. And I used it just like that. Don't know what happened. But next thing you know, I realized the backache was gone. Completely gone. Maybe you're struggling with something physically. I would invite you to go back and check this message. I would invite you to create your own denials and affirmations. At least try it. Try it. You might like it. So, you know, in discussing the body and healing, the body has a natural tendency to heal. It has a natural tendency to heal. Let me zoom all the way. It has a natural tendency to heal. And, however, and it uses the same energy that animates it, it harnesses that energy to constantly regenerate and heal. However, when we have dissonance, when we're angry, when we're upset, when we're depressed, when we're worried, these things create dissonance, which siphon that energy that your body would normally use to heal itself. And then you find out that you're developing symptoms because your body does not have enough energy to heal at that point. Have you ever been around, has anyone here ever been around someone who was so negative that you actually felt drained when you left their presence?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay. So are we understanding each other now? It siphons life-giving energy. And it's no different in the body. No different. So, now one of the most also important factors in the process of rebuilding our Jerusalem in consciousness is to know thyself. Everybody's heard that. Know thyself. Obviously, there's a purpose to it, or else we wouldn't have heard about it. Know thyself. You see, the children of Israel did not know themselves. You have to understand the exilic period, the period of exile when Babylon conquered Israel and sent them into exile. You have to understand that was 70 years. So when King Cyrus of Persia conquered Babylon and then told them and issued their royal decree to return, all the people who were formerly in Israel had died. They were gone. So there was a new generation of children of Israel who didn't even know what to do. What, rebuild Israel? What? They didn't know about one God. They were worshiping Babylonian gods. They didn't know about the prayers. They didn't know anything about their culture. They didn't have their identity anymore. Their identity had been lost. So, thankfully for them, they had Nehemiah, who was the governor, who was sent to be the governor, and they had Ezra. They had Nehemiah and Ezra. And Nehemiah was aware of all of the old traditions and prayers and all those things. And Nehemiah began that process of teaching the children of Israel about rebuilding the temple and everything else so that they could relearn their true identity. Well, it's the same thing with us, brothers and sisters. If we are to experience our Nehemiah and our Ezra, we must go within, into the silence, where infinite knowledge, infinite spirit, infinite truth is abundant and abides within you. You don't have to seek it. You don't have to look in the books for it. It's there already within you. That was in the first talk. We don't have time to go over there. Okay. All right. So, Nehemiah and Ezra, they taught the children of Israel the prayers and the rituals. They taught them how to construct the temple, how to rebuild the walls. And slowly but surely, the Israelites began to regain their identity. So, you know, I had an experience about a year ago. I didn't even know these things about myself, but I found myself looking in a magazine. And in this magazine, there were these beautiful homes. And all these homes had long, beautiful driveways going to the homes. And parked in front of the homes, in these long driveways, were these beautiful cars that cost more than my home. And so I found myself experiencing a charge. I found myself judging this. I found myself thinking judgmental words like pretentious, and an overwhelming gross display of wealth. Things like that were entering my consciousness. I actually was getting upset about this. I don't know why. This is a magazine. What was going on? Later on, as I was meditating and going within, do not ask me how this happened, but I had a dialogue with my higher self. My consciousness split as I was meditating for about 2 hours or so. And then my higher self then asked me, the personality, very lovingly, Stephen, why are you upset? Why are pictures of cars and homes and driveways upsetting you so? And so at first I had my story. I said, because this and that and this and that. And I railed against it. I was upset. But my higher self said, come on, Stephen. Come on. You look a little deeper. Come on. And suddenly, a light bulb appeared. I felt unworthy of these things. It revealed itself to me. I didn't even know. It was always out of my conscious awareness. I didn't even know. I felt unworthy of this. I felt like I wasn't worthy enough to have such beautiful things. And you know what my higher self said to me? You are worth all of these things and so much more. I didn't believe it. I mean, it sounded good, but I didn't really believe it. I wanted to believe it because it sounded good. But somewhere deep down, I really didn't believe it. And so then my higher self, without missing a beat, said, you are worthy. And so I repeated, I am worthy. And just like that, I felt this shock in my torso region. It was almost as if someone used a defibrillator on me or something. Clear. And I felt this electricity jolt through my body. And it said again, you are worthy. And so I repeated like a parrot, I am worthy. And again it happened. This happened several times. So then I began saying denials and affirmations, denying, forgiving, releasing, surrendering, and let go of any thoughts, beliefs, or investments in not being enough, unworthiness, littleness, smallness, or insecurities of any kind. Yeah, you all have heard that before because I said it another time. That's where it came from. That's where it came from. For I affirm that Spirit is the source of all of my blessings. I am worth more than enough. And so you know something, maybe I do still have some thoughts of unworthiness, but I'll tell you what, it's not the same thing. Using my denials and affirmations, I was able to get rid of that crap that was keeping me from experiencing the truth of who I am, that I am worth more than enough. Spirit uplifts me, guides me, walks beside me, and supports me in all that I do. So, now that we've discussed denials and affirmations, let us discuss the glue. Let us discuss the mortar that binds it all together. Let us discuss faith. You know, our faith has many definitions. One definition is believing in things not yet seen. Another definition I like is a reordering or reframing of conscious thoughts based on past evidence. So what I mean by that is when I go through life and I find myself afraid, I find myself approaching a situation, a circumstance, an event that's scary and frightens me, all I have to do is look at the path behind me. And you know something? What that reminds me of is, you know something? There were times that I was afraid before. There was a time that I had experienced situations, circumstances where I was frightened before. You know something? Everything turned out okay. Why is this time any different? Has God changed his mind about me now? Another definition of faith. Now, I like this one too. Expecting results through prayer. Faith is an aggregate sum of our beliefs. It is the power of knowing which lies behind all creation. So our knowing is basically just belief without doubt. That's what knowing is. Belief without a doubt. So, let's see what Emilie Cady has to say about faith. What are usually called the promises of God are certain eternal, unchangeable truths that are true whether they are found in the Bible or in the almanac. They are unvarying statements of truth that cannot be altered. A promise, according to Webster, is something sent beforehand to indicate that something unseen is at hand. It is a declaration that gives the person to whom it is made the right to expect and claim the performance of the act. Jesus recognized the unchangeable truth that in the unseen, the supply of every want awaits demand. When he said, "Ask and ye shall receive," he was simply stating an unalterable truth. He knew that the instant we ask or desire, for asking is desire expressed, we touch a secret spring which starts on its way toward us the good we want. He knew that there need not be any coaxing or pleading about it, that our asking is simply our complying with an unfailing law which is bound to work. There is no escape from it. Asking and receiving are the two ends of the same thing. There is a very close connection between them. So if you all remember one thing about this talk, just one thing about this talk, I want you to remember the initials B-A-E. B-A-E. And I want you to repeat after me. Believe. Believe. That's right. Ask.
Ask.
And expect.
Expect.
Believe without doubt. Ask through prayer. And expect to receive it. And it will be delivered to you. Now, brothers and sisters, go and be that light that your Father, Mother, God intended for you to be. Thank you.
Wow. Let's give it up again for Stephen Fleming for that powerful, impassioned, inspiring talk.